Hello everyone, it's Silvia. Welcome back to my channel. As promised, today we're going to have a look at my top 10 mass market Oracle decks of 2025. So if you watched my top 10 mass market tarot decks of 2025, you remember that I said that normally I mix tarot and Oracle decks together for these type of videos. But this year, or rather in 2025, I had so many tarot decks that were outstanding that I felt like it wasn't fair to just select 5 when I clearly had 10. And so I was thinking, okay, but then I will need to do a video about Oracle decks. And I wasn't entirely sure that I could have 10 Oracle decks to make the final cut. I went through all of the Oracle decks that I purchased in 2025, and there is one that still bears the copyright from 2024. It's a US Games deck, but I did acquire it in 2025 because in 2024 it was not launched in Australia yet. So that is one of the rules that I'm committing to. These are decks that most of them were published in 2025, but that one and maybe possibly another one. Actually, there's one which is bearing the copyright 2025, but is not released yet in Australia. So at the end of the day, I'm just sticking to what I acquired in a calendar year of 12 months. I'm trying to focus just on the US decks. Obviously, there won't be a deck from 2020, but there might be, as I said, 2024 or 2026 even, if that makes sense. So let's have a look. They are in no particular order, just on a pile right next to me, and I'm just gonna go at the top of the pile. And ironically, I'm starting with the Memento Mori, which is an Oracle deck published by Wiser in 2025 for the right season, for the Spooktober season. But it will be available in Australia, I believe, in a couple of months, so maybe in March 2026. Bear with me, it's a really beautiful deck. I knew that it was really cool, and skulls are my favorite, so obviously I really wanted this deck, and I went to extent of buying it out of Amazon US and paying extra to get it shipped to Australia. Even though, had I waited a couple of months, I would have been able to buy it for like $17 or something like that. I'm okay with it because, contrary to the Mushroom Oracle, which is by the same publisher in the same format, so these ones are basically midi, tiny, how do you call them? I don't know. Here you go. This is the introduction cards. So there's only 36 cards, unfortunately, and we always say that we would definitely prefer more than 40. 44 would be the best, but I'm happy with 42 sometimes. 36 is a bit on the smaller side, but this is such a cutie patootie that I really love this deck. And also, I would say when it comes to these type of formats, I really love the fact that they put the sentences or keywords on the front of the cards. If you remember the Mushroom Oracle, they do have sentences at the back of the card, so you don't really see anything at the front. This one actually works. It works. Please, Wiser, just I was about to make a pun, as in be wise, but then I stopped myself. And yeah, this is what's going on in my head right now. Anyway, please, Wiser, just keep on doing what you're doing with this deck, because I can assure you, for the majority of us, it is so much better to have the sentences or the keywords in the front of the card so we don't have to, turn them. And we have a more direct experience. It's easier to enjoy the cards, to use them in a reading whenever we are not just using the Oracle deck itself, but we might be pairing it up with another Oracle or another Tarot deck. It's just so much easier. Thank you. So this one is really gorgeous, and it actually works really well as an Oracle deck. And then we are moving on to the Spiritual Meaning of Birds Oracle deck. I used to joke about this deck because you guys know me. When it comes to animals, I'm pretty okay in identifying animals in my head. I know their names most of the time also in English, all the time in Italian. But then when it comes to birds, I'm completely at a loss. I don't have the knowledge necessary to know all of the names, not even in Italian. So obviously, when it comes to translating them in my head, it's a lost cause. And birds are rather important. It's also for me because birds or a deck that is inspired by birds feels like a very airy deck. And I'm an airy person. I'm an Aquarius. So obviously, these kind of decks mean a lot to me. And I really wanted to gather more knowledge on their names, but not just their names, the vibes and yes, the spiritual meaning of birds. And when I saw this deck, I thought this is the deck for me. I love it, still love it. It's amazing. Discover the wisdom and insight of these divine winged messengers by Ari Murphy Hiscock. This is also the author of the Green Witches Oracle deck that I don't have, but the publisher in this case is Adams Media, which I believe is a branch of Simon and Schuster. Yes, it is. So it is a mass market deck. It's really well done. You will notice that it's not like it tells you an incredible amount of information about these birds, but I needed to start from scratch and from something more basic. And so I honestly appreciate that I don't have to spend hours reading the entry, each and every entry for these cards. So we got, for example, the hummingbird, and it does tell you a couple of keywords with vitality, energy, and joy. Then when you want to know a little bit more about the classification of the animal, it tells you the family, which is the Trochilidae, I guess is pronounced that way, and then the card meaning. And then it's really nice that it tells you where to find this specific bird. So the hummingbird are natives to the Americas and can be found in meadows, fields, and gardens. You'll find hummingbirds from southern Canada all the way down through the United States and Central and South America. I've actually seen them in Central America, in Costa Rica. There was a hummingbird sanctuary, and it's amazing. And I did all those experiments in filming in slow motions when they were batting their wings. It was a really great experience. I really loved it. And I really love the birds themselves. They are really cute. So that was a bird that I actually know a little bit about. So obviously, because their batting of the wings is so fast, you do tend to associate them with vitality and also joy. But there's other birds in here, and there's an index here, as you can see, that honestly I had absolutely no idea about what their name is, what they do, what they stand for, where you can find them, and so on and so forth. And so honestly, I'm quite happy with this deck, but also because this deck pairs really well with a couple of decks that I've got, in particular with the Folklore Forest Tarot by Lennox Rees. I really love that deck. And there's another couple of decks that pair really nicely, tarot decks that pair really nicely with this one. But I'm thinking, even if you have for example, the Oak, Ash, and Thorn, you will see that, or the Woodland Warden's Tarot, which is a mass market deck, that one would definitely pair really nicely with this deck because it does share a few things like the color palette. The art style is very similar as well. The vibes are very similar. I just have to say one thing. This is a rather large deck, as you can see. So obviously, if you have, like me, problems in shuffling larger decks, then you could maybe consider this as, an argument against buying it. It's not a deal breaker for me. I just adapt myself, but sometimes it does kind of hurt. And one thing that I found that was not like this, I actually went back to the video in which I was doing the unboxing of the deck. Do you see that now? It's really quite visibly borrowed, as you see here. It was not like that when I got it, so it's my fault, or rather, it's the conditions I store it in that unfortunately provoked this or caused this bar, which makes me think that I should probably store it. None of my other decks have got this problem. So I'm just going to investigate and see whether it's best to store it in a closed box or something like that, just to avoid this, because I really don't want to lose this deck, or to have it damaged to such an extent that I can't even use it, and it's getting there slowly. But really, really beautiful, very helpful for me, and now I know at least a little bit more about birds. And the next deck, in no order, as I said, this is the Folklore Oracle by, well, it's illustrated by Jada Royce, and you will remember Jada Royce because she was the original illustrator of a couple of Sisters of the Witch Oracles published by Rockpool. This is also being published by Rockpool, and Jada was the illustrator of the Sawan and the Yule for sure, and then I forgot which one. I believe that she illustrated 3 out of, and the other ones were illustrated by Tihana Lukovic. So I like both of them. When it comes to illustrators, I like both of them. And the creator of the deck is Hadas Knox. So this is, as it tells you with the title, folklore themed, folklore based. We had so many fairy tale based decks this year, whether they were oracle decks and tarot decks. We had the reprinting of the famous ones, we had some new ones, we had oracle decks, but also a lot of tarot decks from different publishers. I'm thinking Lost Carabel also had a fairy tale tarot, US Games, this one from Rockpool. It was the year of the fairy tales. I don't know why, but sometimes we do have some theme that goes throughout the whole year, and it feels almost as if all of the publishers almost had a meeting, got together and they were like, oh, what should be next year's theme about? Because one year we had all of the mushroom decks, and this year the fairy tale decks, and I'm really looking forward to see what the theme will be for 2026. Actually, you know what? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm kind of hoping that it will be at the tail end of 2025, surrealist kind of decks. So it's more not necessarily a theme, but it's a kind of art style. I would really like it to be like that. But then again, we had so many surrealist decks last year as well, and I don't know whether the market has been already saturated with that. It feels like sometimes it doesn't take long, does it? It takes maybe just a couple of months and 10 decks with that theme in order to saturate the market. This one, I am perfectly okay with this Oracle deck. It's really beautiful. I actually really like the fact that instead of having a title and a keyword or a couple of keywords, you actually have a question that can function like a prompt for journaling. So, for example, true love, do you feel whole? Or broomstick, where are the cobwebs within and without? Here, what is the source of your power? Sleep, what do your dreams illuminate? Stolen child, what love can you offer the child you once were? So as you notice, these ones they are based on fairy tales. Some of them might be more directly and knowledgeable or easier to spot than others. Some of them might be a little bit more obscure. I don't think that is a problem, at least not for me, in working with this deck. I kind of prefer to focus on the questions themselves. As such, I don't use this deck in combination with tarot decks for divination or even from other parts of my practice. I do, however, use it for journaling. I really like the way in which the combination between the title, so Hermit, Who Will You Become in Silence, that gets me going for like half an hour or even more, writing on my journal, thinking about the images on the cards. It's that way, let me tell you, because in my practice I used it that way, it felt like it was more of a shadow work kind of deck, which doesn't necessarily have to be. If you love this deck and you used it and it feels like a very strong, powerful, nurturing deck, absolutely, you do you. But in my case, this one, it just filled in that space that I needed when it comes to fairy tales. I needed to go deep down into my core self and try and sort something out. And this one was excellent for that. I haven't used it in a while, but now that I see it, and I also love the color of the gilding, this sage green. Now that I see it again, the backs are amazing as well. I think I might incorporate that maybe in my members' weekly energies, the energies of the week videos. Maybe we could do something like this because it is really good for these months of the year in the Northern Hemisphere. So January, February, and also March to some extent. So that might be an idea. We'll see. But really, really beautiful deck. And then I had probably my favorite Oracle deck of 2025, which ironically I only could acquire at the end of November because that's when it launched. And it's the Yokai Oracle deck, Wisdom and Guidance from the Spirits of Japan. This one has been created by Tersa Matsura, creator of the Uncanny Japan podcast. And thank you to all of you who recommended for me to listen to the podcast. It's really great. It's really great. I let's say I didn't spend hours and hours listening, but it is now one of my favorite. I cue it in sometimes when I just go for a walk. I really appreciate the way in which it doesn't just tackle knowledge in a, let's say, academic, almost academic way, but it makes it really engaging and interesting at the same time because it's not a lesson. So sometimes I fear that these kind of podcasts might feel like a university lesson, and sometimes they're a bit they put you to sleep, you know what I mean? But this one is really engaging. It's actually very interesting. It has been illustrated by Michelle Wang. So really love it. I use it with my tarot decks based on yokais, and I have a few. If you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you will know how much I love yokais because they do represent that part of horror that I really like. These are spirit supernatural beings of Japan, and this is really well done. It's not just beautiful to look at, aesthetically really pleasing, but also very engaging. It is something that I would say when you talk about something that has its own reason to exist in the realm of horror, of the horror genre. Sometimes saying things like it's so beautiful, it's so pretty, feels it's like it's a bit of a contradiction in terms, because how can something be horrific and beautiful at the same time? I have no problems in identifying something that is horrific as also beautiful, but I understand that sometimes, there's images that are just simply horrifying and not necessarily beautiful. What I mean by beautiful is that it is rich in detail. The color chosen are really beautiful. And I think that it's also very respectful of the iconography that we now have about Japanese folklore and yokai. So I highly recommend it. It's a mass market deck. It's super expensive. It is quite affordable. I believe I only spent 26 Australian dollars for it. I don't know whether that is the price everywhere. So do your own research, but it certainly will not set you back $80 or something like that. And as myself, a connoisseur, not to the level of Thursa, of course not, but I do believe that I studied many, many years of Japanese culture, language, and including the yokai. I would say that it's a great deck. If you are interested in yokai, this is a great deck to start with because it will give you a little bit of knowledge, but also interest. It will interest you to go down the rabbit hole and get even more knowledge about this fascinating theme. Now, you will excuse me, but the next one is in French, but there is an English version, and the English version has been printed or released in 2025 by Rockpool with the direct translation of this French title into English. So this one is Die Market Humaine, and it's translated into Tell Me You Love Me, and it's an oracle deck that has been picked up by Rockpool and printed or released in 2025. However, And this is by Voglio Bene and Send It to 2.0. Because the English version of this deck, which is, the French version of this deck, which is this one here, which I'm going to show you, by Edition Exergue, I would say this one is my favorite by far. Like it doesn't even compare. I know that Rockpool always done a great job, and I'm not complaining about what they've done with this deck. However, this version is just so much more beautiful because, well, also it does come with the velvet bag, but it's not necessary. It's not something that I need in order to be appreciating a deck. The guidebook is fantastic. It's really chunky, really beautiful inside. And yes, you will say, but it doesn't write much. I get it, it's true. And I don't have the English version, the one released by Rockpool. So if you do have it, let me know. Does it say a lot more than this? Because in this case, in many, many cases, we have not much. So this is card number 9, and as you will see, you have a full page for the card. You have a full page, which is something unseen before, of 3 keywords and a sentence. And then you've got a little bit of a description here. And we also have, this could be seen as some kind of a advice. So it feels like it's a really large book. However, when you do consider that 2 pages already could have been one thumbprint, obviously it's a lot smaller. The content is a lot less than what you would imagine when you see the size of the book. I don't know what Rockpool has done. I really like it. I like the maroon color, and I don't know, maybe they've done the same. But I don't think so, because this one occupies space. And when you're talking about space, of course, you're also increasing the price. In any case, that's not the main reasons why I prefer the English version, the French version. Again, why do I keep on saying the English one? It's the French. So love the bags. Look how beautiful these are. Really gorgeous. But look at the front. So in the English version published by Rockpool, I heard many of you complaining that you don't have as much gold. And it's a bit of a pity. This gold foil is fantastic. Really gives the cards an even stronger sense of being busy. There's a lot of decorations on the card, a lot of animal elements, a lot of animals, a lot of vegetation, foliage, and something like that. But at the same time, you will see that all of the foliage and all of these elements that are decorating the cards are also on the skin of the characters on the cards. And I love that. I love these. I really love these. So what the authors of this deck have done is nothing short of fantastic. I really love it. And I think that when you're looking at the layout of a deck like this, of images like these, I don't know, you're better off having it, embracing the busyness of the images, and just go with these borders, with this gold foil on the cards. It just really adds up to the cards, the images themselves, and I absolutely love it. When it comes to the guidebook, is really good. The way in which I use this deck is in combination with other decks, but it's so busy that sometimes I actually do prefer to use it by itself, and sometimes even by pulling just one card, because it is that busy. It's really beautiful. The keywords resonate. I don't know what else to say, but it definitely is one of my favorite Oracle decks of 2025. As I said, this one, the French version, may have been published maybe at the end of 2024. I didn't even check, I should have. But the English one has been picked up by Rockpool, and it's been published around, I believe, July, something like that, 2025. So it's definitely a 2025 deck. Then we've got another couple of decks that I use by themselves, I would say. So the Kitchen Witch Oracle by Jenna della Grottaglia, Spells, Incantations, and Natural Remedies. Let me tell you, this is unique. This reads like a grimoire in the form of a deck. But because of that, I don't use it the usual way I would combine it with a tarot deck. This is not an oracle deck to me. It is literally, imagine it as you, if you will, like one of those recipe books that comes in form of cards. You know what I mean? The ones that you put on a box and then you just go through them and you pick one. This really feels like that. It's obviously we're looking at recipes here. It is amazing. I loved it. I used it. And I still, so this one ironically is one of the decks that I'm rehoming because I have another copy, because I really would never part way with this one. It's just an amazing deck. And it was so much fun because I was using it with my members for the whole month of, I believe, June. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it was June. And I was pulling one card every week for each and every group of zodiac signs, alchemical groups. And so I was reading the spell out loud, and I was asking my members to let me know if they used the spell and if it worked. And there were a lot of spells that actually really worked. I particularly like the ones that are to foster focus because it really works for me. The guidebook is amazing. This is one of the guidebooks that is even more, I would say, more valuable than the cards themselves, because all you need is in the guidebook. The cards are beautiful. Yes, of course, the images are beautiful, but honestly, you don't necessarily need to focus on the images unless you want to do some kind of journaling. But this is a grimoire. This is full of recipes. This is telling you how to promote health oil, a simple soul protection for the home, a calming simmer pot, dispelling fears and confusion spell, peace and soul alignment, new month money manifesto, chill out spell, focus and alert simmer pot, and so on. So these are recipes and obviously spells and incantations and things that you can use. I love the fact that it really looks at what you've got in your own kitchen, and that these are all elements that are so easy, ingredients that are so easy to find. You can literally find them in the supermarket. And so it's never been difficult to get around and actually try out the spells coming from this deck. And I really loved it as an activity. So great idea to make a deck like this. Great idea. Another deck that I use by itself is the Witch's Shadow Work Oracle. And ironically, this one has been illustrated by Tihana Lukovic. We talked about her because she was succeeding Jella Rose in illustrating the Sisters of the Witch Oracle decks. The creator is Claire Gogoty, and I really love this deck, but it is one of those decks that I feel I need to use. Either I use it sometimes with the Sisters of the Witch Winter Tarot, but to be honest, this is a proper shadow work oracle. And it feels like, even though you can use it in combination with an oracle, with a tarot deck, it feels a lot better when you use it by itself and you do the work that it proposes to you. So it is an archetype-based deck. So we can see here, for example, the hunter. The hunter asks, how independent are you? And then it gives you the interpretation. Artemis, the Greek goddess for the hunt, wilderness, and childbirth, is a role model for our times. She was strong, independent, a friend to animals, and a protector for the forest and children. Artemis was her own woman. Remaining a virgin and unmarried, she spent her time in nature with a band of nymphs. Fearless, etc. And then it gives you here, we should all be a bit more like Artemis. While independence is a great trait to have and the knowledge that you can look after and please yourself and liberating, it can also work against you. So it really gives you two sides of the coin. And then it gives you a little bit of an affirmation. I am independent, but that does not stop me having healthy relationships. And then it gives you an activity. For example, this one is cultivate active listening. A key step toward cultivating an interdependent, healthy relationship is active listening. And it gives you a little bit of exercises, I would say, to do in order to practice how to cultivate active listening. These cards, they all come with an activity. And I have to say, I used many of these for my Starlight members videos when every month we focus on a quest. And so for 2025, we focused on the quest of the hero's journey throughout the major arcanas. And in 2026, we're going through the minor arcanas. So there will be more quests, obviously. So for each and every quest, there will be activities, actually 7 activities to take the person through the next couple of weeks. It's been very intense. It's been very liberating at times. It's been very engaging, and you can choose to participate as much or as little as you want. But many of these, obviously, I have to base myself on books that I've got or stuff that I've done myself and I've experienced it, and it's been very helpful. This guidebook has been very helpful. And so the cards are also really beautiful. Obviously, I personally really love this art style. I like the fact that it does look really nice with the Season of the Witch tarot, winter tarot, and I'm expecting it to be very nice with the other seasons when we're looking at the tarot decks released in 2026. I don't know when and what season will be released, but I'm thinking, they probably go with spring or maybe summer to do the opposite. I don't know. I have no idea. We'll see what Rockpool does. Really beautiful. Some of them are really intense, but as I was saying, this is a very strong deck when it comes to working with your shadow side. It doesn't necessarily work really well as divination, and that's one of the reasons why when you use it by itself, it may give you an even better experience. That's what I recommend after using it for a few months. So really beautiful deck. Another deck that I love to talk about because it is stunning, and I mean stunning. This is the Feminine Myths Oracle. This has been created and illustrated by Ana Novas. And by the way, I'm learning Portuguese or Brazilian Portuguese. If any of you knows of horror books, because I googled it and there are not that many, but I love reading horror, and when I'm learning a language, I do have an intermediate level of Portuguese already, so I can read, but I want to make it so that I can travel to Brazil without any problems, or at least not as many as I would had I no knowledge at all of the language. So if you have any recommendation of horror books that have either been translated really well or are from Portuguese or Brazilian authors, please let me know in the comments below. Getting back to the deck, this is stunning. This is really stunning. This one is also one of the decks that I'm rehoming this month because I have 2 copies of this deck. This is a Blue Angel, yeah, it's a Blue Angel publication. And yes, of course, it is about feminine myths. So I, generally speaking, because it doesn't come with a keyword, I would generally pass on a deck like this because I would have to go back to the guidebook every time, but I honestly really love it. The art style is so beautiful. If you do have the Soul Mirror Oracle, also by Blue Angel, you would definitely recognize it. But also the Soul Reflection Starter, which is by Sunshine Connolly, but illustrated by Anna as well. Those 2 are amazing, but the colors used in those 2 decks, the color palette is more reduced. This one uses more saturated reds and blues, and I just think that the result is freaking awesome. I mean, look at these cards, how beautiful they are. Really stunning, absolutely stunning. I really, really love these images. I I have sometimes a bit of trouble working. I can work with Lakshmi. I can work, but I cannot work unless I read about it. I can work with Oshun, probably not with Pise. So there's a number of reasons for me to go back to the guidebook, and that makes it a very complete experience. This deck is really, really stunning. And then this is the deck that it on the box it says copyright 2024, but I acquired it in 2025 and I acquired it as soon as it was available. So it must not have been available in 2024 in Australia. So this is the Dream Song Oracle. This is one of the decks that I fear that they go unnoticed or at least underrated because Angie Sullins, it's written by Angie and the artwork is by Marta Orlowska. Angie Sullins is so prolific that it feels almost like there's like 5 or 6 deck by Angie Sullins every year, and people just pick and choose, and they don't necessarily have the opportunity to experience them. I know that I do that too. If I see that there's another deck by Angie Sullins, I'm like, well, I have 3 or 4 already. Let's have a look at a couple of cards that they give you as an example on your Amazon listing, and if it really feels like it's calling to me, then I'll get it. Otherwise, I'm happy with what I've got. I fear that a lot of us, me included, as I said, are doing that and we're missing out because this deck, let me tell you, this is an amazing deck. This is truly an amazing deck. Dream Song Oracle, very great value. This is not one of those decks that sets you back $50. It is a really beautiful deck. It doesn't have that many cards. I believe it's only 40, well, okay, well, it's 45. It's 45, I'm happy with that. It's 45, it's one more than 44, so I can't say anything. It feels thinner because the cardstock itself is rather thin, but 45 is perfect, guys. It's absolutely perfect. And because, well, the guidebook is amazing. It's really, how should I say this? It feels like I want to say that it's really spot on because it resonates so much with me, but it might not be or have the same impact on others, depending on your experiences, of course. But what I would say is that it gives you a very strong reaction. So you might not like this deck, but at least give it a try because it's not just about the images. And honestly, the images, yes, they're amazing, they're beautiful, but the guidebook is the reason why I'm recommending this deck. Let me just see if maybe what I'll do, I'll just show you briefly some of the cards and then we'll pull a card and then I will read to you out of the guidebook. So this is one of those decks that will pair really nicely with any other surrealist kind of deck, that tarot deck that you may have. Thinking about the mystical moment, for example, that would be perfect. But also, personally, I like to pair it with, so Lennox Reese's deck that I was talking about earlier, the Folkloric Forest Tarot. This one will pair up really nicely with it, even though this one is surrealist and the other one isn't, but it feels like it would pair really, and it does actually pair really nicely. There's another couple of decks that I like to pair with, and all of these cards, for example, the Dream Keepers Tarot has a card that looks almost exactly like this one, and the Mystical Moment is very similar as well. So as I said, let me just quickly shuffle it, and then I will pull a card. And by the way, these are the backs, really beautiful foxes as well. I have to say that this type of art style felt like it was very popular for many, many decks last year. And so I'm kind of hoping that it will continue to be so this year as well. I don't know. Let me just pull a card. Let's say this one. There you go. Protect the fledgling. I know that card, very intense. So let's go to it. It's number 15 on the guidebook. There you go. You deserve a criticism-free zone. Make no mistake, you thrive with others in your life who provide support and shelter. Nothing ignites your power and creativity like self-tending. This is the moment to be the shelter you need most. The winged aspirations that live in you need protection right now. Guide your dreams, do not share them with outside sources. Let the fledgling gain strength and resolve within the confines of your most sacred inner space. Cradle your fledgling ideas, ambitions, and dare new beliefs until they can fly free. The time will come when it's right to share and synergize. Right now, tune into your innermost life and nurture what lives there. So it's very intense to me because this resonates so much. And I'm thinking, what if it didn't? What if I was not at the a moment in my life in which this message is so powerful to me? I would still appreciate it because it's a deck that it feels very intimate. It feels like one of those decks that looks you in the face and looks you in the eyes and talks to you because you're the one that is pulling the card and you're reading for yourself. So as such, I may use it, for example, in the Wheel of the Year reading. Sometimes I use a deck like that because it's very useful to give you that kind of a wrap-up message when you finish reading the Wheel of the Year and you need a very strong finale and you want the person to really bask in the depth of what has been said in the whole reading. But because it's a long reading, the Wheel of the Year goes on for about an hour, you risk losing them. As a tarot reader, I noticed that I risk losing people, or the attention, not losing people, sorry, losing their attention because it drags on for so long and it's about 12 months, it's never ending. So at the end, you need something that is as powerful as maybe, like a spark that gets the attention back. And you get that by being really direct and being very personal and being very intimate. And this is exactly what this deck does. And I like it for it. Last but not least, and I promise you, it's not the last one for any particular reason, but subconsciously, I know that I did not want to show you this deck. And you probably know which one it is. And it feels painful, but I have my hand on top of it, and my hand is like, do you really want to show it? And this deck bites. It bites. You know how they say, oh, come on, give it a try, it doesn't bite you. This one does. It does. It bites you. It bites you. It's the Cries of the Souls Oracle by Isabel Serf, illustrated by Daphne Sabine, published by Oracle in 2025. I have spoken about this deck a number of times. I don't know what else to say other than caution when you use it, because this deck will make you cry. I think that is the name is perfect, the Cries of the Souls. But at the beginning, when I saw this deck and I knew that it was a companion deck to the Voices of the Souls Oracle, same authors, I thought to myself, okay, so the Voices are obviously a light deck and the Cries are a shadow deck. And I was okay with that. But this is not cries as in yelling. This is cries as in crying tears of misery. Because this is what this deck does to you. It will make you miserable. Is it hurting you? Yes. To the point that you don't want to use this deck. I promise you, you will think twice before using it. But the reason why it made it to the top 10, and it's probably one of the top 3, to be honest, is that it is so useful. And when you feel like you're okay to take a beating, like an actual beating, and you're okay to be miserable for a couple of days, and you're okay to cry your eyes out, that sometimes we are okay with that. Like sometimes I'm watching a movie and I know that it's going to make me cry, or I read a book and I know that it's going to be heartbreaking, but I'm okay to go through that because I feel like I'm in the right set of mind to go through that. This deck, you need to be in the right set of mind to be basically destroyed by it. It is the Cries of the Souls. And let me tell you, it is deceiving because honestly, and I think that it happened when I was giving you a first impression. I literally just unboxed this deck online on a video. And I remember reading it and reading the card, and I said, oh, okay, I see what it's doing, Family loyalty. I am myself. Oh, okay, okay. And then you go on and you see fighting the outside world. I embrace tenderness from outside. Oh, this is very nurturing. Humiliation. I accept and embrace my body as it is. And you go, wow, this is very positive. It's very nurturing. It's such an amazing deck. It's one deck that is unfortunately underrated because honestly, I do believe that the aesthetics are not really eye-catching. It's not one of my most beautiful decks by any means. I mean, I'm okay with the images just as long as you understand that they are symbols. They're not images. It's almost as if I call them my clip art. So if you are my age, you would have used PowerPoint, and PowerPoint had a lot of clip art like that. And Canva, now I use Canva all the time, and it does come with elements that remind you of the clip art from 20-30 years ago from PowerPoint presentation. So it really looks like that. And some of these also look like tattoo. So there's a lot to say about the minimalism on the images of this deck. There's nothing minimalist about the sentences, and even less so when you go to the guidebook. So I believe that I was reading out of the guidebook and it was getting progressively darker and confronting and triggering and really making me feel like it was slapping me on the face. So I don't use it very often because it's very powerful, but it is one of those decks that you really need to be in the right set of mind. And let me just give you one example. So as I've done before with the other deck, I'm just going to pull a card and you'll see. All of these ones, all of them. There's no one card that actually redeems itself. And I'm pulling this one, and I'm actually scared now. I'm actively scared of see what it is. Okay. Oh gosh, I always pull this card. Why do I always? I have. Can you imagine having a stalker card out of this deck? Okay, here we go. Manipulation, number 28. And you know, at the bottom of the card it goes, I share honestly and authentically. And you go, wow, yeah, of course. Yeah, no, I do. I share. I'm very honest in everything that I share. And I'm authentic. This is my authentic self talking to you. And then you go to the guidebook. Card number 28. This is 35. Let's go back a couple of cards. Yeah, here it is. You may label certain people as horrible manipulators, but I am present in all of you. Manipulation is a manner of social interaction you're forged between you. Okay? Some people use me to make others suffer, and some manipulate for their own end, while others manipulate in a positive way or for the benefit of other people. You all have free will. And my role is to influence people's thoughts, choices, and actions and provide the semblance of control. Supplement. When you use me, you avoid confronting the uncertainty of the world. You run no risk of being disappointed by other people's attitudes or reactions and have the power to make others do what you want, which reassures your ego. When you dominate someone else, it produces well being hormones. Thanks to me, you can wear a satisfied smile, and that feeling is a source of great security for you. Conversely, when you're being manipulated, you are no longer responsible for anything and you stop making decisions and running the risk of failing. Warning. Look closely to catch signs of manipulation in yourself and others. Stepping aside from what you say and others say to you. When you constantly shift responsibility onto others, suppress your dark side, expect perfection in others, and criticism is unbearable to you, that's when I am present. Why do you need to control others? What are you trying to avoid? I can teach you many things, but if you let me lead, I can hurt people who have nothing to do with your inner pain. I mean, moving forward, I can become a daily mode of interaction, and you may find it very hard to get rid of me. The first step in doing so is recognizing my presence, not in others, but in yourself. Determine the situations and or relationships in which you manipulate and ask yourself how long this has been going on and why you do it. What are you running away from? Think about what you can do to share with yourself and others in a more honest and authentic way. When you manipulate, it's because you feel an unease you're trying to escape. Becoming aware that you feel that unease and taking care of yourself are important keys to creating new foundations in your relationships. So, apart from the fact that it sounds perfect, it sounds amazing, it's solid advice. It's something that you can take to the bank because it will serve you for the rest of your life. And it's amazing that there's someone so direct that they can offer this kind of advice, even if you don't want to hear it. But it's exhausting. It's exhausting. Um, it's an amazing deck, though. I highly recommend it. It's so affordable. I think it's $20 in Australia. It's very easy to find. Rockfall publication. As I said, it might not be eye-catching. Let's be honest. But trust me, when you want to do a lot of work on yourself, this is an amazing deck. It is an amazing deck. Coincidentally, I'm reading a book by Robert Sapolsky about the non-existence of free will. So basically, the whole book, I'm already at 70%. The whole book is like, there is no free will, there's just determinism. There's no free will, there's just determinism. You see how I'm explaining myself that there's no free will? That's because there's no free will. What do you think? There is free will? I've actually studied, when I was studying psychology of crime, free will is extremely important in psychology of crime or criminology. Because if there is indeed no free will, then it's difficult to justify sentences and punishments. If a criminal has no choice rather than commit the crime, should they be punished? So the justice system in many countries, including Australia and the US, punishes the a person that has been convicted of a crime. So obviously it's been demonstrated that they are guilty of that particular crime, not just for to try and reduce recidivism, so to try and reduce future crimes, but also because there is something due to the family of the victim. So punishing someone gives solace, is part of the retribution to the victim or the victim's family if the victim is no longer with us. So there's a theory that supports the fact that even if there was no free will and just determinism, or what I call the informed determinism, then we should still punish the person who committed a crime, has been proven to have committed a crime, depending on the crime, of course, and depending on circumstances. But, when it's being proven in a court of law. If you're a student of criminology, you will know this. There's a number of theories that say there's no actual 100% free will. There's just informed determinism. Everything that we choose, we think we choose it for free will. As a matter of fact, we are following just any kind of circumstance that is leading us to choose one thing, A, B, or C. We choose A because of this and this and this reason. So I call that informed determinism. I agree. I think that at the end of the day, free will is never 100%. My free will right now will be to live. Probably I would love to live in the southern states of the US because that's probably what I would like the best. And, travel maybe 6 months a year and have just time to read and listen to music and go for a walk and being able to go and swim in the ocean every day and so on and so forth. That would be my free will, but when I choose my life, there's a number of conditions that make it so that I don't choose that. So it's still free will in the sense that I'm still choosing. It's not imposed upon me the way in which I live my life, but it is kind of informed, as in these are the choices that I have in front of me because of choices that I made years ago. So there's a number of really interesting topics around determinism versus free will. But it just came to mind because I read that card. I don't honestly I know that there's a lot of people clutching their pearls right now, but I don't believe that free will exists in the way that people think that free will exists these days. Prove me wrong. In any case, there is free will when it comes to the choices of oracle decks, or rather informed determinism, because obviously I chose those decks because I made a comparison with other decks. In any case, these are my top 10 mass market oracle decks that have been released or that I acquired in 2025. I'm really looking forward to a fantastic 2026. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.